Today we're going to work on question number 4, which is a matching question. So you click here on create a new question, and then from your menu, you choose the next one. So it's multiple choice, true, false. Next one is matching. And you remember that we also have this little description here. Scroll down and click add. Right, so here, that's the page we're already familiar with. You need to copy the name of the question and paste it over here. And then copy the stem of the question and paste it over here. So please note that the stem of the question is followed by the instructions. So make sure that your students know what they are required to do when they see this question. So you can make, like the other day we did that, you can make this stand out a bit if you like. Make it a little larger. You can move it to the top, but just make sure that they see it. It's visible enough for them to see. So you set the default question mark. I have 3 different items here, so I would like the default to be 3. And then I'll just leave the general feedback empty. I would like the answers to shuffle each time the question refreshes, so I will leave this here. If I didn't want to do that, I could just untick this. And for the answers, so how this question works is that you have some parts of the question, like the ones in red over here, that do not change. So these are always on the page. You copy them in the question section. But then you also have the answer section, and this appears in the form of a drop-down menu. And these are the ones that are shuffled or not shuffled as you choose them above over here. So you copy the first part of the sentence that does not move in the first part in the question text box. And of course, you can edit it as much as you want using these tools. And then you put your answer over here that appears in the drop-down menu. So for the second part, you copy the question, and then you also copy the answer. And you do the same for number 3. Okay, so I have 2 more choices that I would like to add. So I need to click on blanks for 3 more questions. And my page refreshes and more options are added to the bottom. So for question 4, if you take a look here, I have no questions. In fact, it's only a distractor that I would like to add to the item to make it just a little more difficult. So I'll add this distractor in the answer section. So there are no questions over here. It's only an answer. And it's the same for number 5. So no questions, there's only an answer. Copy and paste it over here. And I don't have anything else to add, but if you did, you could click here and get some more question fields. So the rest is basically the same as the other questions. We'll just skip them for now and click on Save Changes. So to see what this question looks like, you can scroll down. You can find it here and click on Preview. So you see you have your question stem, you have the instructions, and you have the part of the sentence that doesn't change. And this is the drop-down menu with 5 answers and distractors. So let's see just randomly how the feedback is going to show. So once you do that, you click on Submit and Finish to see the answers. So all 3 answers are incorrect. They are marked with a red X, and the correct answer is given below. So we will go to our next question. So let's go to short answer this time. I'll click here and read the description. So it's not the essay type question, it's only a question that allows the students to type in a few words, maybe 2, 3 at most, not many words. So we click Add, and again the screen appears. So we are here now in our short answer question. So as per usual, you type in your name and the question itself. So it's important to note that these blanks must be underscores. And they must be at least 5. This is really important because if you have only 4 underscores, the blank will not shape. It needs at least 5 underscores to form a blank space in the real question when you preview it. And also, it's a really good idea to let your students know how many words they are allowed to use. So as you scroll down, again, you can have a default mark. Again, I'll just leave it at 1. Leave the feedback. Now, this case sensitivity is a really good option, especially if you are trying to give practice with capitalization. If you would like your students to observe capital letters and to make sure they type correctly, you can say yes, case must match. But in this case, it's just a few words, a word or two from the passage, and case is not important. So I won't be really picky if they type capital or small. So the correct answers go here. The first answer over here, brain food, was exactly in the passage. So copy this answer over here and paste it here. And then the grade is 100%, which means the students will only get the full grade for this question if they answer the exact word from the passage. And if you want, you can also use some feedback. So as I scroll down, I have answer 2. Now this question, this answer, food for brain, is also acceptable. So if you want to judge this answer, it's not really wrong, but it's not the exact words used in the passage. So I would like to include this as one of the possible answers. But because it's not the exact answer, I will just allocate 90% of the score. So it's still acceptable, but not 100%. And then for the third one, I have food of brain, which is not the exact answer. I can accept it if I want and give it a lower score, and I can choose from all these scores, so it doesn't really have to go from high to low. You can just choose whichever score you want. And that's it. So you have 3 acceptable answers. I need one more blank to explain something to you. So if I move down, I have my first blank is the exact word. This one was acceptable. This one was less acceptable, but still acceptable. And this one, I want to say anything else the students write. Like if they say food of the brain, or if they say food for the brain, or if they write the brain food, that means anything else. So please remember, this is usually a good idea to have this little asterisk here. This represents anything else. So anything else gets 0, just to make sure that no other options are allowed. And if you want, you can add more answers, but we don't want to do that, and we will save changes. So scroll down, find the question, look at the question, how it looks like. So you see here, let's say food brain, and submit. This is wrong. So although the combination is incorrect, but the words are the same, this is not considered as the correct answer, and there are no marks allocated. Now let's start again and say food of brain and submit. So you see that the answer is partially correct, and that 83% that we allocated back there is revealed here. And so it is like it does receive a little check mark, but the correct answer is also given below. So let's do the next one. Right. So our next question is an essay question. So here the students get to write longer essays. So let's click here and click add. So the screen appears. I'll just resize it. And here we have our question name. Copy and paste your question name over here. And then this is the STEM, or the topic of the essay question. So students need to read this and answer the question. And of course, you can add more information using the toolbar if you want to. So the default mark, this is an essay question, and usually people like to give more weight to essay questions. So it depends on how much weight you want to allocate, 5, 6, 10, whatever. So you choose the default mark over here, and you scroll down. So the response options here are interesting because you have so many options. First, you have the HTML editor. Now, if you choose this option, the HTML editor, the students will need to type their answer in a text box like this. So when the question shows, they will see a text box and they will see toolbars, and they will need to type their answers over here. If you choose the second option, HTML editor with file picker, they will have two options. They can have their answers typed here online, and they can also choose a file to attach. So it's like both online and attachments are accepted. When you choose plain text, the students still will have to type online. However, they will not have a toolbar. It would only be a simple window where they have to type. So no toolbar or no editing, just a simple text box. And if you choose this monospace font, they will still receive a text box without any of the tools. But here the font will look like the font of those old-fashioned typewriters. I'll just choose this so you can see what it looks like. And of course, you can also choose to have no online text. It has to be sent as an attachment. It could be PDF, it could be a Word file, it could be anything, but there's no typing online. So we'll choose this one, plain text. And then, would you like to require the students to enter text, which is basically echoing the first one? So yes, I would like them to enter text, but then here text input is optional. So remember, if you allow attachments, or you allow online, or you allow both, all features are acceptable, but you cannot not allow one and not allow the other. So if you don't allow online here, you should allow an attachment here. It has to be either or both of them, but it can't be none. So I will say text input is optional. So they can also add attachments, and they can also type inline. Now, what would you like your input box size to be? So if you look at this box, I would say it's maybe 5 or 6 lines. So it's not very long. But if you're expecting a huge essay, then you can choose more lines. You can choose up to 40 lines, and this will give them a really big text box where they can type in a lot of content. So here is allow attachments. It's either yes or no. If you say yes, you can choose how many attachments are allowed. Let's say yes. Are attachments required? So this is the same as the other one that I just mentioned. So it's either required or it's optional, but just make sure you have the right combination of attachment and online. So we can say attachments are optional, and accepted file types for your attachments. And if you click here, there are tons of different file types for you to choose. Depending on what your question is, you can have documents, you can have PDF, you can have images, and just so on and so forth. That's huge. So I'll just cancel this. Oh, sorry, I can't cancel because I choose attachments are optional. I need to choose a file type. I'll just go with document files. And I'll click on save. Okay, and next is the response template. So here you can leave it blank. It's optional. but it's always a good idea to give some kind of clue to the students as to what they need to include in that particular essay. So for this question, I expect the students to have a title. I expect them to have a topic sentence and at least 3 details and a conclusion. So I can say that in the question stem above here, or I can use this here in the response template. So I'll just copy all of this over here and paste it here. So whenever the students see the question, they will also see these requirements. And in the next part, it's greater information, which you could use later on when you want to grade the essay, or if you have a TA or if you have a non-editing teacher who is helping you with the assignments, you can add a little rubric. Now these rubrics can be any format. I just have a very simple rubric over here. It could be a table, you can copy and paste it here, or you can design your own table using this editor, or add lots of other information if you want. So once all the fields are completed, click on Save Changes. Click here. You can see the question. Let's preview the question. Okay, so it doesn't look really good, does it? Remember those fonts that we said it looks like a typewriter? You see what that font is. So if you compare to the one that we have here on top, you can see that this looks like more old-fashioned. And it's also in code. And we don't want our students to be confused with the code, although we might be able to read it. So we do know that here there's a topic sentence, and there's detail number 1, detail number 2, detail number 3. But let's go back and edit this so it's also clear to the students. So close this preview, click here on edit. So the text box looks good. It's not the old-fashioned plain text. If we say HTML editor, it will look better for sure. Click Save Changes. And let's preview the question. There you are. So no codes whatsoever. It's clear. The font is nice. It looks clean. And they also have these tools that they can use in order to edit their writing. The next question. And we'll click on the next one, drag and drop. So click here, click Add. And from here, we have drag and drop onto image. So in the general section, in the question name, just click here, copy and paste it over here. And then this is your instruction. Copy and paste over here. So what I want to do for this question is that I want to add some of the pictures that I had in that folder, and I would like the students to name those pictures or to choose the right name among the choices that they have and to match the word with the picture. I click here, Insert or Edit Image, and you can see this on your toolbar. If your window is bigger, it might just move around, but it's this one. So you click here, and let's enlarge this to make it easier. You browse. Right, so if you have any files saved on the server, you can use those, but I'm going to use the file I have on my computer, and it's here. So I'm going to choose one of these, click here, and upload the file. So as I also mentioned in the other webinar, you see that this file is too big, and if I put 4 or 5 pictures like that, students will need to scroll up and down all the time. So I'll resize the picture here, and I'll have a more manageable picture size. If you change one side, the other side will change automatically. If few clicks. So it's 200 and 133, and this image is decorative only, so I don't want any description added to it. So if it's all good, click Save Image. So this image comes with a blank in front of it. So I would like the students to drag a word in that blank, basically to drag the name of this fruit in the blank. So the way I do it, I add, two square brackets, and I put number 1 and I close the square brackets. So this means blank number 1. And then I add another picture. So from the same folder, the next one. Make sure you tick this, because if you don't, the program will not accept the picture. So resize this the same as the one we had before and save your image. So you see the second image is resized. You can add your second blank, blank number 2. So we can add a third picture. Browse, choose your file, go here, and upload the file. So this is really, really big. You need to change it for sure. Resize and save the image. And add blank number 3 and one more to add blank number 4. Double square brackets, open and close. Okay, so set your default mark. Of course, you can add more pictures if you want to. I'm just adding 4, which looks pretty standard, but more or less pictures are also acceptable. So for the default mark over here, I had 4 pictures. I would like to have 4 points, 1 point for each. Add your general feedback. And so here you need to name your choices. First of all, do you want them to be shuffled? Yes. So each time the students see the page, it's going to be a different order. Now for choice number 1, where I had the cranberries, I need to write their name or the word that matches. So it goes here. And I'll talk about these later. So let's ignore these for now. For another question, I'll talk about these. And the next one was blueberries. Choice number 3 was salmon. And choice number 4 was, if I have more choices, I can add them here, and I can also click for more. I save changes. Scroll down. So your picture, your question appears here. You can preview it. This is what it will look like. You have the same size of blanks. Looks pretty nice, I would say. And then you can drag the words to the answers. And if we have some wrong answers, let's see what the feedback will look like. So the correct ones are green, the incorrect ones are red, and there is feedback below giving the correct answer. Okay, any questions on this item?
For choice number 4, you put 2, but it still worked. So the numbers are not important?
Choice number
You see at on the page here,
okay.
For choice number 4, you put number 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Thank you. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Okay, now it should be right. Okay, so let's do the next one. I just want to make sure what questions we have over here. So it's drag and drop, but this time it's text. We are still in the drag and drop into text. In the first question, we added pictures. In this question, we're going to add text. So it's very similar to the first question, the first drag and drop question. So just copy and paste it over here. And then you have your question text over here as well. And so here, it's kind of like dragging a second part of a sentence onto the first part. So what I will do, I will only copy the first part over here, which means blueberries blank. And then the students will need to drag the second part from the bottom of the page onto the blank. So for the second part, also copy and paste here. And the third part also copies and pastes here. So again, because I have 3 different sentences or questions, I will add a default score of 3. And I would like the choices to be shuffled. Now for choice 1, blank number 1, I will just copy this over here. For choice number 2, I'll copy it over here. And choice number 3, copy over here. Again, I'm going to ignore these for now. I'll show you in the next question how they work. So once it's over, you can click on Save Changes. And let's see how the question looks like. Click on Edit, Preview. There you are. So you have different draggable sentences, and you drag them into the blanks. Okay, so let's submit and finish. So 1 question is correct and 2 are incorrect. Okay, so I'll go to the next question. And yes, again, it's drag and drop into text and click on Add. So it's this one that we're going to add now. It's question number 9 on your documents. Type the question name there and then copy all of this passage up to here. Okay, so you have your instructions. If you want these instructions to look bigger or different, you can always change them here or edit them using this tool. You will see that the blanks appear in the passage. So you can either do this when you are typing online, or you can do this like we had in our Moodle before. So the default mark over here, I have 9 items, and I would like this question to have 9 points. So I'll just leave the general feedback empty, leave the ID number, shuffle. Okay, now you need to add your answers over here. So for number 1, the answer is available. For number 2, number 3. Now these 3 answers, they all belong to the first paragraph, starting from here. So I would like them to be grouped. So when the student have 10 or 15 different answers, if it's grouped, it's easier for them to find or to match or to like drag the right answer to the right place. So all the questions that belong to the first paragraph, I would group them as group A. This makes these answers color-coded. So as you see, like these answers will appear in the question with a color that matches the color of the blanks in the first paragraph. And obviously this makes it a little easier because the students will know that if this is pink, it should go in a pink blank, not a green or a gray or any other color. So it makes it a little easier. If you don't want to do that, you can just leave it as it is. Or if you have a particular answer that you would like to be used several times, like maybe you have this keyword available, which is in a blank in different paragraphs or in different locations in your passage. Click Unlimited. This means that this draggable item can be used several times throughout the exercise. It doesn't only have to be used once. But I will not say unlimited. I only have this word used once. So these are all group A. Now my group B words belong to the second paragraph. So this means that if I group them as group B, they will have a different color when they appear, and their blanks will match the same color. So let's add these words. To the second group. And let's group them as B. It doesn't really matter what you call it because the students are not going to see these group names. And I still have 3 more words to add. So I'll click here on blanks for 3 more choices. And I'll click below to add number 7. And number 8. And number 9. Save changes, and we'll see what our question looks like. This is the new question. Click on preview. Okay. I forgot to group these 3. So in fact, we have 3 group A's over here, and they are all in white. And we have 3 group B's in here, and we have them all in purple. But the third paragraph, I forgot to group. So these are still in group A by default. So I will go back and I will edit this and make sure this time that I don't forget to group my third group of words. So here is group A, and that's why they appeared in the same color as the group A above. So we will change this to group C. It's a third group. Okay, so we'll click here on Save Changes. Yes, there you go. So you have 3 different colors. The first 3 are white. They are group A. They have the same colors as the draggable items. And the second group, you have here, different color, and the third group is also a different color. So let's go to the next part, create a new question. And this time we will go to drag and drop markers. So I don't think I have any text. I'll just copy the name of this question to the question name and add my instructions. That's all we have in the Word document. So how many marks? It depends. So in this activity, you will have a background picture, and you will ask the students to drag some words onto different parts of the picture. So it could be a map, for example, like you have the different provinces and you would like the students to drag the name of each province on the area that you allocate. Or you might have like the food picture, the vegetable picture that is attached in your file. You can use that. And depending on how many draggable items you want to have, you can set your default mark. I'm going to use 4. So the default mark is set at 4. And then here, do you want to highlight the drop zones which have not had the correct marker dropped on them? So once the students complete the activity, if there is an incorrect answer, the zone will highlight. Would you like that to happen or not? So we'll say yes. We'll tick this so we can see what it looks like. Now here in the background image section, you need to choose a file. So I'll choose that vegetable file we have in our folder. So here, unfortunately, we don't have the choice to resize the file. If you want to resize it, you need to do it before you upload it here. Once it's uploaded, it's not like the other image picker where you could change the dimensions. So you have this huge picture over here, and then you need to type in your markers. So the markers are the words that you would like the students to drag on each part of the image. So would you like them to be shuffled? Yes, of course. So for the first one, I would like them to identify the picture of the potato, like to drag the word potato onto the picture. And for marker number 2, I'll have a tomato. Tomato. And for number 3, let's have a red pepper. And for number 4, we can have a carrot. So I have 4 markers. I can add more if I want. And now it's time for the drop zones. So just to make it a little easier, please click here on this little downward arrow to minimize this section. So now your drop zones are closer to the picture. Click on drop zones. Now here you need to choose a shape. So the shape is basically where the students are allowed to drop their draggable item. Are you going to consider having a circle or a rectangle or a polygon? I would go with rectangle because it's usually easier to shape. So for the first marker, which was a potato, I will choose a rectangle. So here I have my rectangle. So you click here and you see a little circle in the middle. Now you can drag this and move it to your potato here. And then you can drag the corner to make it larger. So it's a little clumsy. It doesn't really move very easily. You'll have to play around with it to just see how it works. So now this whole area is a drag zone. So if students see the word potato and they drag it, and I mean, they drop it off here or here or here, it will all be accepted. If you don't want to be like that generous with the area that it covers, you can just make it a little smaller. Or if you have too many pictures and it's really hard to have a really big drop zone, you can always resize it. So let's go to drop zone number 2. Again, I'll use a rectangle. And my second marker is a tomato. So I'll bring this over here and I'll resize it so I know it covers my shape completely. Okay, and then I'll do the same with number 3, which is the red pepper, and move that little shape, here, and resize it. And then I'll have number 4, and take that to the right place. So this would be a little tricky because the carrot is not really, doesn't look like a rectangle. Doesn't look very good, does it? Okay, let's say this. You can use a polygon or maybe a circle. Okay, so if you have more drop zones, you can add those. If not, you will click on Save Changes, and you can view the question here. So this is what the students are going to see. They will see the words below the picture, and they cannot see anything. Like the drop zones are invisible to the students, so they can just drag stuff wherever they want. Submit and finish. So you see that the correct answers are shown and the incorrect answers disappeared. And the feedback is very simple. So this is one way of doing this drag and drop. Another way is very similar to this. So it's one more question, and it's drag and drop onto image. Click here on add. And so again, you need to give it a name. I know it's the same name as the other question. I'll just change a little thing to make them be different. Let's say 14. And use the same stem. And then choose a file to use as the background image. And then upload the file. So the huge file appears up down here. Again, you need to have your draggable items. You can shuffle them. Now, I like this question. It's a little different from the previous one because here you can also drag images. So let's say you have the map of Canada. So they already have the background, but you want to ask which agricultural products are grown in each province. So you have pictures of different products and you would like your students to drag those products onto the province. So you can use this. You can have draggable items as images. In that case, you need to choose image files and follow the rest of the steps. But in this case, I still want the students, I just want to show you how they can use text. So again, you have words, and then instead of draggable image, you say draggable text. And again, you can group them as group A or whatever. And so you type your text here. So again, we have potatoes. And then draggable item number 2. Again, I'm going to choose text. And then say tomato. And then number 3, I can use pepper. And for number 4, I can say eggplant. And that would be it. So let's minimize this huge draggable area and open the drop zones. Draggable item number 1, potato. And then I will look up here to see the little word in the corner. So I'll drag this onto my potato. And I cannot resize it. This is all I have. And for number 2, I'll do the same. And you see the numbers, the left and top numbers, they appear here automatically. So you really don't have to put them in yourself. So number 2, it appears here on top. You just move it onto the picture. Now the difference we have with the previous question is that there you defined a whole draggable zone. But here it's only one small space that appears on the final question. So let's do the rest a little faster. I can't believe we're running out of time. And then for number 4 as well. So just move this to this area and you click over here and you click on Save Changes. So you can see it if you want to preview. There you go. So you see these blank spaces, they appear on each image. And this somehow makes it a little easier for students. They know that they only have 4 or 5 zones where they need to drag their pictures to. This is a little difficult because the picture is too big. And as we were talking about this earlier, if you could resize the picture and use a smaller one, it would be a little easier for everyone to manage. Okay, so let's close the preview. If there are any questions, you can always leave them in the teacher forum. You can also email them to me.